So far in today's show, we've discussed the process for solving a basement water problem and learned how to compare estimates and select a contractor that's right for your situation. Now let's take a closer look at the different components that make up a professional interior drain tile system with Kyle Mellon from Tri-State Basement Repair. Well, I said it before, I'll say it again. I can't believe how clean they can keep this basement, moving tons and tons of debris. I mean, it's a dirty, messy, back-breaking job.
Sure.
Yet these guys obviously are experienced at it, but I'm amazed how clean it is.
I'm always impressed with our crew, and you know, again, a lot of this has to do with the negative air machine that we have in place. It's just taking a lot of that debris out of the air.
And somebody watching might say, well, who cares if they keep it clean while they're working? Well, this leads to a better end result, better peace of mind for the homeowner. You don't have to worry about spending time cleaning up if you keep it clean while you're working. And you know, these buckets of dirt and debris that they have to haul out of here, it's no wonder they had a water problem. Look at the clay here. It's all wet and damp, and that's all pushing up against the foundation.
We see a ton of that here in the Midwest, and that's what drain tile is all about, to relieve that hydrostatic pressure that's outside the foundation walls.
And you know, I pick up just this little bit is heavy. These buckets weigh about, 40 pounds, 50 pounds a piece. They take hundreds of them out of here. Where does all this debris go?
We load it onto our trailer, which is parked in the driveway, and we take it to our facility. Ultimately, it's going to become road base.
Wow, I like to hear that. Recycling the product.
You bet.
Let's get into the products themselves. Outside, you mentioned you go with a smooth PVC piping. Let's talk about that and why you chose that.
Absolutely. This is the 3-inch PVC drain tile that we use. And there's a lot of things that are great about this, one of which is that it's nice and wide. 3 inches wide, holds a ton of water. We also like the fact that it's nice and smooth on the inside, which just allows for a better water flow, better drainage. As we mentioned before, we're going to have pitch to the drain tile, so a little higher on the far corner away from the sump pump and draining toward the sump pump. So if it's not completely smooth, you're going to have some water standing in there, and that's not a healthy thing necessarily.
Not a healthy thing, and after all, you called in a professional company to rid your basement of moisture problems.
Right.
Makes sense to me to go with a smooth product. You also said it's very durable.
You bet. 3,000 pound crush rated.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about it ever collapsing under the weight of the concrete or the gravel around it?
Never going to happen. Plus, we like the fact that there are 1/2 inch wide holes all the way down both sides.
So now, good facilitation of the water going in?
There's no way that these are going to clog up on you. There are types of drain tile systems out there that have been around for decades that have little tiny slits for the water to find its way into the drain tile system on. They clog up real easy, get covered over with mud. You're never going to have that issue with nice heavy-duty PVC.
Well, that makes sense. And with all the different choices of drain tile out there, it seems to me that you guys as a company researched the different products and ultimately went with this because you thought it was the best product out there?
And we feel our customers deserve the best.
Again, superior products lead to a superior end result, provided you have experienced contractors installing it.
Absolutely.
Now, what is this clear plastic?
Well, this is hydrochannel, Stu, and this is a sample of it. And the idea here is that it fits right on top of the clean gravel, right up against the foundation wall, as you can see. Ultimately, we'll put gravel over the top. And the idea here is that it forms a little separation from the wall itself. You can see the little ridges right here, which allow any water that may eventually come through the wall for any reason to have a place to go.
Almost sounds like a fail-safe in the unlikely event that you have water come through the wall. It can drain down, get behind here, and it looks like these legs here would help facilitate it right down to the drain tile?
They sure do. It just forms a little separation and allows that water space to get into the system. There is a crack on the wall that you may have noticed over here, and it has leaked in the past. We're actually going to professionally repair that using a very effective carbon fiber repair, so we don't expect water to come through there again. But this is here in case water should come through somewhere else over the course of time. Maybe another crack develops in the wall, who knows?
Okay, anything special with the gravel you selected?
Well, you'll notice different sizes of gravel in there, very coarse gravel, and the whole idea here is to facilitate the water flow so that it gets into the system as easy as possible.
Boy, makes sense to me. So the water flows down into the PVC piping, leads to the sump crock. What are the components that we're looking at here?
Well, the first thing you'll notice is the 2 ends of the drain tile that are protruding through the liner itself and into the pit. There's your pump down there, and it has what's called a float switch, which is activated by the height of the water in the pit. It reaches a certain point, it turns on, pumps the water up through the discharge line, and then outside.
So one thing, if I'm a homeowner, I check that periodically. If I see some water in the bottom, it doesn't mean it's not working. It means it's not high enough for the float to activate the pump.
Absolutely right.
Okay, now Did they run a dedicated electrical line down here?
They sure did. They had this done by an electrician prior to our arrival today, and we recommend a dedicated 15 amp line specifically for the sump pump.
Well, it makes sense. The last thing you want to have is this failing to operate when the rest of the system is doing its job and directing all the water down here to the sump crock.
Absolutely.
As the water's getting discharged, earlier you mentioned they're going with a buried discharge outside.
That's absolutely right. 1.5-inch line right here going up over the top of the foundation. That actually transforms into a 4-inch PVC that's buried, and we're going to run that, in this case, 30-40 feet away from the foundation. And at the end of that line, we have what's called a pop-up emitter. That's the opening to the line where the water is released into the yard, and it's a lid to that line. So the only time it'll open up is when water's pumped out.
Is that important?
Oh, it's real important. If you don't have a lid on the top of that line, leaves could get into there. You could get small rodents that get in and, you know, cause all kinds of havoc.
Sure, that makes sense to me, instead of a grate system or something that's out there.
That's right.
And it sits low enough so if you're mowing the lawn, you don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely right.
And I like that because visually speaking, you don't have a big white PVC running all the way out to the street. Out of sight, out of mind, and you have a nice dry basement. Doesn't get any better than that.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate you coming on today's show, walking us through the professional process.
My pleasure, Stu.
Now here are some key points to help summarize today's show. If you've ever had water in your basement or are planning to finish off a lower level, consider adding an interior drain tile system for the ultimate peace of mind. Be sure to do your homework, meet with a couple of different professional contractors, and compare their estimates line by line to ensure you get the best value for your situation. And finally, don't forget to ask about the different options that are available, including a more powerful sump pump and the buried discharge with the pop-up emitter we saw on today's show. Well, we're all out of time for this week's show. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you again next time on today's Remodeler.